Hi, this is Hyperwave. I'm Leah Wald, and I'm here with Tyler Jenks. And going into the weekend, 3-day weekend, we are going to discuss three different things today. Hyperwave currently in Bitcoin, the overall look for the Hyperwave that we see right now, and thirdly, overall situation in Bitcoin prices today. Prices have been managed to gain to 10,300, but the bad guys drove it back down. So Tyler's going to talk about that today. And last thing to note, just as I've been getting into this crazy world, I'm very excited that I'll be taking Tone Vase's seminar tomorrow on technical analysis. So hopefully soon to come, I'll be able to add a little bit to this TA discussion. But till then, we have a lot that's going to be covered in a quick time period today, including Tyler bringing up the Fibonacci numbers again to explain specifically why we are currently struggling with the prices right now. So with that said, Tyler.
Great. Thank you very much, Leah, and congratulations on taking that course. You're taking it from the very best, particularly when it has to do with this whole crypto space and Bitcoin and that wonderful technique called the random number generator or the sequential system. So I'm sure you're going to have a terrific time tomorrow. Okay, let's get right into the charts, everybody. We will look at the Bitcoin prices as of a moment ago, right at 10,000, 10,005. But what I wanted to point out was these three lines, my horizontal lines at 9,000, 10,100, and 11,100 that we talked about in an earlier tweet today. I'm going to blow this up a little bit, but first take a look and see that here's our low at 5,920 on a 4-hour chart. And we keep moving up to higher highs and higher lows. But notice what happened at 9,000. I'll just make this a little clearer for everyone. At 9,000, the first big round number we had to tackle, we ran up to it and couldn't get through it, closed below it. The next 4-hour period, we broke through it, closed below it, and then tumbled all the way back to 7,800. So this first attempt from the bottom to get over this small resistance, this is not nearly as big as the resistance at 10,100 and 11,100, but it couldn't even do that on one try. So after going down, it came back again. The second time, came right up to the line on the high for the day on this candle, but closed below it. And it was turned down again. But this time, our lows were higher than the previous lows. The highs were the same as the previous highs, so we tried it a third time, and the third time was the charm. And you can see we struggled below it on this 4-hour candle, then blew through it on this one. And we have not looked back since. Now, that takes us through 9,000. We've been saying for the past several days that the real test is going to come at 10,100. So let's take a look, blowing it up, at what happened as we approached 10,000 and 10,100. We snuck up to it with these three candles, with a couple of wicks that tried to get close but couldn't. But then we blew through it on this candle, which was yesterday, closed slightly above it, a higher wick above it, but we didn't close at the very top. In the very next candle, it was rejected. We opened right where we closed the day, the 4-hour periods before, couldn't go anywhere, and we came all the way down to 9,800. Closed below the line. Then it alternated again, and we tried one more time and ran all the way up to 10,300, which looks like we should have significantly broken the 10,100, but alas, the bad guys came in and forced the price all the way back down to 10,100. And the following candle alternated again and shoved us all the way back down to 97.70. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4 attempts, rejection, and then tried it one more time. Got above it, closed below it, alternated, negative close after having penetrated 10,100. And the candle we are on now has not retaken 10,100. We're trading at 10,009 right now. So altogether, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 attempts on a 4-hour basis to break through 10,100, and we're weakening right now. Notice that at this area where the 9,000 was, this is a Fibonacci. No, I'm sorry, not on this chart. That'll be on the next chart. So now the question is, what's it going to take to break through 10,100 and make it up to what I believe is the most significant resistance, 11,100? And some of the short-term trading techniques are saying we are in for a bit of a dip here, both on the Elliott wave and on the random number generator, the sequential. We could have some weakness going into the weekend, Saturday, and possibly even into Sunday. So if we were to drop back to maybe 9,300 or 9,400, that would give us a running start this time through the 10,100 early next week. And then we should be set up to go all the way up to 11,100 and hopefully above it. So on this short-term chart, that's what has happened over the last 48 hours. The war, tug of war continues. The battle continues between buyers and sellers right at that critical 10,100 level. So now let's take a look at the longer term, which goes all the way back on this chart to 300. And this is where I've drawn in the Fibonacci numbers. And I've also drawn in this hyperwave phase 3 line that we did penetrate at the 6,300 level, dropped down to 5,900 before bouncing back and closing strongly above 8,000, even though we had been down at 5,900 on that weekly candle. This entire week that we are in now has been positive, and we are struggling between the 8,000 level and the 10,000 level, as I just talked about. But notice the Fibonacci numbers. This is the 61.8% Fibonacci line that goes all the way back to 150 on the lows, all the way up to the top at almost 20,000. So what we're saying is from 20,000, we dropped below the 61.8% line on this candle. But on the very next candle, we traded the lows of the candle above that line and the highs and the where we are trading right now right on that line. This is the 50% Fibonacci line. The good news is that if we can now get above this 50% Fibonacci line, the next one comes in at 12,300, which puts us well above our 11,100 resistance. And that's one of the reasons I say if and when we get above 11,100 on a closing basis, we will be ready to retest the highs with one minor variation that we will talk about if and when we get there. Finally, I'm going to once again show what we're talking about with this hyperwave with its 7 phases, 3 positive phases, 3 negative phases in red, 1, 5, and 7, and 4 positive phases in green, 2, 3, 4, 6. And what we are debating now is, are we in 3 or are we in 6? And we will know for sure if 2 things happen. If we drop below 6,300 and close on a weekly basis, we know we were in 5 and we will start a 6 up before ending the hyperwave to the downside. That's one scenario. The other scenario, the one that I am leaning on as being the most accurate, is if we can get our price action above the old high at 19,666 on a weekly closing basis, then we will know that we are still in phase 3 and we've still got phase 3 to complete and phase 4 before we go into a downturn. So looking very quickly again, here's the present chart of Bitcoin in a hyperwave with its phase 3 line drawn in, and this is what the hyperwave model looks like. Over 300 examples that look not identical, but very close to this sketch. And with that, I am going to say have a terrific weekend. We will continue following, and as things change over the weekend, we will go ahead and vlog and tell you what we are thinking. So thank you very much, and back to Leah.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend. Till next time.
Bye-bye.